friends. Welcome to another episode of the 10 Laws Podcast with East Forest. I'm Mr. East Forest, and today I have an episode with Spring Washam. I think you're really going to enjoy it. She's a well-known meditation teacher, it says on her website. She's an author, a visionary leader based in California and Peru. She is the author of A Fierce Heart, Finding Strength, Courage, and Wisdom in Any Moment. And she's considered a pioneer in bringing mindfulness-based healing practices to diverse communities. She's one of the founding and core teachers of the East Bay Meditation Center in downtown Oakland. And she's a really cool woman. So I was grateful that I could get a chance to get to talk to her and bring her on the podcast. I also just want to note that we recorded this several weeks back. So it was before George Floyd's tragic killing. And that's why that subject doesn't come up. I would love to record these podcasts the day they're released, and that'd be awesome. But, I'm a small show. I have to do these when I have time and when our guests have time and kind of backlog them. And so we always try to have the episodes be evergreen anyway. So they're sort of speaking to the timeless matters of being a human being and walking through this world. And I think it still does, but I just wanted to give context to what Spring and I are talking about. It's been a wild week, as we all know, in so many different aspects, and it really feels like we're continuing on this process of apocalypse or unveiling of collapse, where systems are breaking down, and it's sort of like when a fire goes through a forest or a field. Yeah, it burns things down, but it's also fertilizing the soil for new growth. And we're still in the fire, as we should be. And it's hard to say what exactly will grow out of this, but I know that it's inherent in life that new things will grow, that this process is important, and when we're in the midst of it, we can't always see where it's going to lead. I have had my own navigation with that this week with a particular project I was working on that I felt inspired to do, but it's actually still in process, so I will probably tell you more about that next week, I hope. And until then, I might have more news to share too about some other things, but I took a lot of the last week off being in my own silence and doing what I could to educate myself and elevate other Black voices. We had what's it called? Not a rally, a march here in Boulder, Utah. In our little southern Utah town, there's only 200 some people who live here. And like a lot of Utah, particularly southern Utah, it's very white and Latino down here. And I saw that the march was happening last Saturday here in town, and I showed up, and my heart was really warmed because there were so many people there from the town in solidarity with signs and wanting to march and support and do anything, do what we can. So that was amazing. I mean, there must have been well over 100 people, which I know isn't a lot of people in big cities, but here that's like huge. We have gatherings here. Sometimes it's like 12 people. It's like, that's a big party. Not that this was a party, but so we did that down here, and I've been continuing to do my outreach with conversations with friends and deepening the work of understanding and listening. And yeah, it's been intense. So I won't go on too long. I want to get into this conversation. So please enjoy this. Stay strong, my friends. This is Spring Washam.
Feeling lost in the electronic sea in the universe.
Cool. Where are you, by the way?
Right now, I am in Fairfax, very close to Spirit Rock.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'm sheltering down here over near the rock. That's where all the teachers we've all flown back over here.
How are you doing with everything? How are you feeling?
Well, it's a lot. This has been, I didn't plan on being even in this country. So I've spent half a year in Peru. I was planning to relocate more to South America, Central America. So it was just a complete, as we all, our schedule went from, I had the perfect 2020 calendar mapped out. oh, it's going to be so great. And it's gone. And I'm just back here and I'm just being with that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of this is like just settling into what is in a really profound way.
Oh, yeah. It's really, and that has its own, yeah, it's a very intense time. People are writing me. I have sessions, you know, I do a lot of healing work too. And so it's a lot of people experiencing dark night of the soul. Some are thriving, you know, those other people putting out all this great content, carrying everyone through, you know, and then so it's just really hard. And so we're going to see, you know, we have an election coming up, which is very destabilizing. I feel like this year is going to just be a lot of working with what is and meeting these intense moments of uncertainty and maybe not what we want and confusion and fear and then love and faith. You know, it's all mixed up together.
Yeah. I do feel like there's this situation is meeting everyone uniquely. And like for all of us, there's an invitation for everyone, even if it appears that someone is thriving, and perhaps they are in, you know, in their own way, and someone else is being affected much more acutely. I really sense in my heart that there's a collective metamorphosis that is laid before us that is yet to fully emerge what that is, and there's an individual that even for myself, I'm not sure totally what it all is, but I can feel it. And I don't know about you, but have you been feeling an invitation in a sense?
You know, I think for me, I'm always in an optimistic state. You know, even the darkest hour, I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna get through it. You know, I'm that's like the Bodhisattva archetype. You just work with it. So for me, I've been really connecting to the ancestor world, you know, and feeling all those who have endured before, who have overcome as examples of how to be more powerful, more present for myself and others. You know, so for some, I think this big piece is just, you know, and also I work in the, you know, shamanic world a lot with my work, but I don't know, I've been feeling like I'm going back in time, you know, and relying on this is the greater ancestors that have walked through dark times, you know, and did it nobly. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it would be helpful. You could tell folks just a little bit about the work that you do and the intersection of the traditions that you hold. I think that might be some helpful context.
Yeah. Well, I've been practicing meditation for about 20 years. And I met Jack Kornfield actually on a 10-day retreat. We were just talking about Jack Kornfield, the founder of Spirit Rock Meditation Center. Yeah. And, you know, almost 20 years ago, I met him while I was doing a retreat. And I really started working with him after that and training. And I was going to long retreats. I thought I was going to be a nun for a long time. I definitely have that in my Akashic records. Oh yeah, definitely. Well, you know, nature outside practicing, you know, is kind of the mystical yogini, dakini school, you know, some of the wild woman kind of spirit energy. I've always had that. I've always been influenced by that. And so I practiced a lot. And so that led me into starting a community in downtown Oakland, East Bay Meditation Center. So I wanted to have a community that was more inclusive. Having been around Spirit Rock, you know, I wanted something really urban. So that we founded that. And then I'm on the Spirit Rock Teachers Council. And so just studying Buddhism and Dharma for many years with many different types of teacher. I have a Tibetan teacher. I have, you know, I sort of come through the Thai forest lineage through Jack Ajahn Chah, great Thai master of the last century. And so then at some point I was doing all that work and I started to feel tremendous blocks in my system. And I was on a 3-month course, isolated, doing intense concentration. I kind of fell apart in a way I never had before.
During this 3-month?
Yeah. during this 3-month period. I kind of fell apart in a way. And that led me into wanting to seek another alternative way to deal with trauma. It was definitely trauma from growing up. And at that time, we didn't know a lot as the Western Vipassana teacher scene. We didn't understand. We would say to people, just go back and sit, be fine. But we now know a lot more. Every day it's like light years of understanding energy. And so a friend of mine, a therapist, a psychologist actually, told me about a plant called ayahuasca. And she said, you should try this. And now this is almost 12 years ago. It was not well known then. And she said, I've been working with this for a year and it's been helping me heal so much. And I was so open. When you're at the bottom of the barrel, you're doing everything to try to, I was healers, dolphin swimming, prayers being prayed over, blessings by llamas. It wasn't really working, So I needed something that was going to go to the roots, right? I needed something deeper that I could move these energies with, like there was stuck on, and that's what trauma does. It gets in your body, your emotional body, your physical body, your vibrational body. And I couldn't seem to uproot it with just sitting meditation practices anymore. It was too deep and I didn't have the capacity. So I did started working with it. I went to a ceremony up in California, and then immediately I saw the benefit. And then that started my 12-year sort of odyssey going to Peru, and then living in the jungle for a year with the Shipibo community. I study. So the other lineage is really the Shipibo indigenous people in the Peruvian Amazon. They're kind of like my tribe, my medicine tribe in a way. I've learned everything that I know through them and other things, other modalities, but a lot about that healing work through them. And then 5 years ago, I started Lotus Vine Journeys because I saw that Buddhism needed help. It needs to go faster. I was seeing people stuck for years, same old pattern, same neurotic tendency. And I'm like, why is no one going through the stages of insight? Why are all these, Western minds, we're all stuck on self-hatred and our habits, our collective karma here. And so I realized that, and then shamanism, the Amazonian tradition needed the Dharma. I needed to go deeper into the wisdom school, not just energy. It needed a map. There was no clear map in ethics. It's a bit like the Wild West in Peru at times.
Right.
So so that led to the birth of my organization, merging the two Lotus Vine Journeys. And we do 14-day retreats where we do study Buddhist meditation. We do all the practices, and then we do ayahuasca ceremonies.
Well, it's not a marriage that you hear about all the time, even though it maybe makes sense energetically. But most people wouldn't think about Buddhism. They're saying going faster in Buddhism seems like anathema or something. Yeah. And would you say you're asking for them to go faster in a sense of to meet a crisis of the times, or where's the energy for the?
I think we have to become more insightful. We have to wake up. I mean, there is something urgent happening here. There's an urgency. I don't think there would have been any interest in this had the environmental issues, the political issues. Now we have coronavirus issues. Now we have, we're in the middle of something that is, those who will evolve will thrive, and so the Buddhist path offers such a beautiful map, but very few people were accessing the fruits of it fully. They did in the beginning, but many people, and I had this even teaching years at Spirit Rock, going through teacher training where I would sit in with Jack Kornfield and listen to people being interviewed about their experiences. I was really surprised there wasn't a lot of deep insight. Mm-hmm. Everyone, we were like swimming down the river, but we're collapsed on the side, all the time. And so the progress is slow. And so it does seem funny. I would say speed up, but there is a kind of timeliness of now is the moment, and I think people are feeling that with this whole epidemic, this urgency to become more free. Rather, that's, so that's why I say quicker.
Yeah, I get it. Some people would say that in ayahuasca circles or psychedelic circles in today, I've certainly seen people who kind of, how do I put this? They're picking up the phone to get the message, and then they want to keep picking it up over and over and over again. And I'm trying not to judge why they're there, their intentions, but it just seems like they can't stop diving in. And I wonder if there is an overall litmus test to say, yeah, you've had enough. It's about being here, being incarnated, and putting this into integration and into practice at the end of the day. That's why we're here, I think. But I can see sometimes in the Western circles where it's almost like an addiction to that space itself. Like I would see the same people over and over again diving in.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what is it you're looking for? It's an infinite space anyway. And maybe they find it pleasurable, or there's some sort of self-flagellation there, perhaps. I don't know. What do you think? Or what have you witnessed?
Yeah, well, I agree that people have different motivations, and I can't speak for everybody, but I think one of the challenges with our Western psyche is our indulgence and addiction to intensity. We're looking for the next thing. So there is that. Also, we have to understand that with ayahuasca is a very powerful doctor. She cannot be manipulated in any way. She's like, so it also, sometimes people are working on things that take a long time. If they have deep traumas, it's going at a slow pace. It's like going to a doctor, getting treatment. It's like someone in therapy for a really long time. So we don't really know, just having worked with people through long processes. When I lived in the jungle, people would come 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, and maybe they needed to work something like, some of my clients have been in wars, UN peacekeepers, frontline workers. And so when you have that level, there's a process that needs to happen, but one can't metabolize it too quickly. So some people go and come back, try to live differently. But the medicine itself has her own control valve. You can't manipulate it. It's just so far beyond this, So she knows to turn it off. She just will. Sometimes people, when it's too much, she'll just say, go home, stop for a year. You don't need this. Go do yoga, go to a retreat, or just won't, and if they don't listen, the effects just don't happen. It's not like an automatic thing. I like, it's a mystery with this plant.
Yes, I would say in some ways it feels non-negotiable. It's like things just are.
You're on the ride. And then when, and so sometimes people might look at it as addiction. Like for me, I had a long process with healing trauma, and it took a lot of ceremonies at a certain time. I was going really deep, and it was like every time it was like lessening. I had family stuff like my mother and suicides and all this violence and child stuff, so when you're really trying to I let go of that, and you're serious about it, you'll be in a longer process. Some people don't need that. They only need maybe 1 or 2 times in their lives. I've met people like that. They saw all they needed to see, and it set their life on a course.
Right.
So everybody's relationship is a little bit different. And to your point, there are people who will attempt to monopolize, appropriate, grasp, greed and wanting. All of that is always going to be connected in the human psyche to anything here. And that's part of the Four Noble Truths, and eventually they'll have to look at that and be in their body, because that can only happen for so long on that route.
Yeah, I would imagine there's people who use it for sort of dark magic in a sense, or or it could turn on a kind of self-aggrandized importance in a way.
Well, that's why we love the Dharma with it, because we're always talking about egolessness,
Mm-hmm.
and in bodhicitta, service to others. So we're grinding down the habit to reestablish a very intense, strong sense of self and importance. And so when you have a backdrop where you're studying Dharma, that's what's influencing your journey. Set and setting is key. If you are in a community where there's no teaching about that and everybody is, really maybe macho shamans and, we're going to do that, you'll be influenced. Everything has an influence. So that's why I said it needs Dharma. That reason.
Yeah, I found for myself, meditation itself was the doorway through the experience of almost any psychedelic. And I don't know, like it can be really challenging without it. If you don't have that sense of focus in a way actually is what unlocked the gifts of the medicine often. And
yeah.
do you use the meditation as a specific tool, or do you instruct people or guide them to use that inside ayahuasca?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, basically, I'm teaching this is ultimate meditation.
Yeah.
This is the
Supercharged
ultimate test.
meditation.
This is like, we're going to go really fast here, everybody, through a lot of stuff. And can we be present? Can we be in our body? Can we be in the heart? Can we practice? Throughout the day, we do meditations. We're doing movement. We do a meditation before the ceremony starts, and to give a Dharma talk right before, tools on how to navigate. Can we be in the body? Right? And this is and that's what our whole team is just reminding everybody how to be here with the moment that's really intense or really painful or really blissful or, it's ultimate practice. So that's why I like the merging. Without it, I wouldn't be as interested.
Do you find there's a particular style of meditation that works particularly well inside the inside the ayahuasca?
The first foundation of mindfulness of the body. To keep, because what we're doing is we're healing the energies that are in the body. So to keep coming back to the breath and the body is the ground. We keep grounding and rooting down. So I teach a lot about the elements, roots, breath, body. We're not trying to leave our body. That's the key. We're a very disassociative culture. People tend to split off really quick. Also, trauma does that, or just we don't live in our body here. We live in the mind. So this constant focus on ground, earth, in your body, in your heart. We're not so interested in a lot of intellectual ideas. It's like, listen to your body, get into your body. That's a huge foundation of what I'm teaching is embodiment.
It must be interesting too, because in ayahuasca, the purging aspect is often really tied to the emotions of the experience itself. Like that, like you could be holding on to something or a trauma even, and I've heard about that a lot. And the purging itself is a kind of exorcism of that trauma or part of it. So I'd imagine like really focusing on the somatic experience of it as part of your meditation would be pretty intense and powerful, considering that it's such a physical experience, ayahuasca, or can be.
Ayahuasca is extraordinarily, I've worked with other plant medicines. I know them, I have never seen a plant that a tiny amount goes so deep in the body, in the cells, in the gut, in the system, flowing through. You're feeling everything. And so therefore, we really want to be present. We want to work with it. We want to be conscious with it. We're moving stuck energy. Like, where is there pain? How can we navigate that? It's very similar to what we teach Vipassana course, that Spirit Rock meditation instructions. We spend 2 days focused on breath and body as a ground of mindfulness. So we're doing the same thing there. However, we're also healing ourselves. So there could be some big pain stuck. And I have people bring their awareness there, breathe, work with it. We're learning about how to master our own energy. And in the West, we don't really understand that as much. It's like we're learning how to be in our body and work with our body. We're very mind dominated here. People don't live in the heart. They live more in the head, right? And the body and the heart are one. The heart, you wouldn't say to someone with an open heart, you're really heady, right? When someone's really heady, we don't feel their heart energy. We see this, like, Okay, it's kind of like get a little nervous. Like, is this person here, right? So I'm trying to help people get here, because I feel like that is the biggest issue that enables people. If they're not in their body, they will walk on their earth not knowing they're creating harm. They will move in their life with unconsciousness. When you're really in your body and you're feeling with your body and you're rooted in your heart, you're aware of your contact with others. You're aware how you move on the planet. You're aware of Pachamama. You just have an awareness that is really key to non-harming too.
So what are some things we can do to bring that awareness, to bring our body more into our Western lives outside of ceremony?
Yeah, well, I think there's the practices that we're teaching, the 4 foundations of mindfulness, embodiment practices, right? Every day, learning how to drop into the heart, feel the breath, walking on the earth with awareness. Earth, anything that you do, I feel in nature, that's awareness based is very helpful. Sometimes we have to go outside if we can. Some of us live in really urban places. Some of us have Marin here. It's like the world is our backyard. It's like a playground of trees and parks. So it's easy to kind of go outside and start grounding in the body, right? So it's a conscious shift from the head to the heart. And we have to want to make it. We have to also get a little bit tired of the mind. There's a fascination that most people haven't satiated. I think some are now because they've been locked up in their house with it. And they're like, help, this is madness in here.
Enough.
You know?
Yeah.
Enough. And they're looking for other distractions. I get it, of course. But so we can just keep yogic practices. They're not about fitness. They're about yoking the body and the mind together.
I know it's interesting in the West. Some yoga we've turned into power yoga, and it's hot. It's all about pushing the body in a way.
Yeah.
Not so much about the spiritual aspect.
And really fast music, and let's work out, and we're really cute, attractive people, and no clothes. And the real practices are, it's the yoke, the mind and the body. It's yoke the spirit and the body together. That's the foundation, So true yoga is that. And you should walk away feeling that you're now in your body. You've connected,
Yeah. Totally. I mean, we've turned it into most things, a big industry.
Do I look skinnier? Is my abs nicer after the class? But that's what Western minds do. We're all in that. That's part of our illness.
Yeah.
It's part of our madness.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like what role psychedelics might play in psychedelic therapy, or I guess it already is playing, but in this process that we're in? Because there definitely is a cultural shift happening where we're moving, where it's becoming even a larger element accepted in our Western lives on the forefront, because it's been in the background now for a while. I was introduced to ayahuasca about 12 years ago too, 2008, and it's a different world now. And,
yeah, me too.
But we have a long way to go. But have you had any insights in the medicine itself, even beyond just what you think about it, about where you think this is headed and the role it might play in our transformation?
Well, I think one of the things is that, so for me, I don't use the word psychedelic as much. I kind of have an issue a little bit with that word just because it feels like this is then connected to Albert Hoffman and Timothy Leary in the 50s. Like, this is thousands of years old, right? Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of Westerners. So
it's like contemporary baggage for you, in a sense?
Yeah, it's like it is because of entheogens, plant medicine, plant spirit medicine. But I know what you mean. And I think that the plants are rising because right before the shutdown of Peru and the world and all these countries, I call it Peru the new India. I mean, thousands upon thousands of people piling down into the jungle. And I feel that as we move into this more earth consciousness, this next evolution here, the great shift, hopefully we're going from the industrial growth model to the more life-sustaining model, right? Hopefully this is what this period could be about. But I feel like the plants have a role to play. the plants have a role to play. Nature has a role to play. And I feel like all of these medicines, if you think about it, the vine grows in the middle of the jungle, right? It's in the heart of the Amazon. It's like holding strong vine roots, right? And all these medicines, whether it's psilocybin and all these great studies done at Johns Hopkins and UCLA, and all these benefits that people are able to use these plants in their highest form to connect to the spirit of consciousness of this earth body that we're living in, right? So I feel like in a way, the earth itself is throwing up everything out of the ground that here's some kale, eat that. Here's these plants, have these. Whether they're Chinese herbs, Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, it's a shift back into earth consciousness. And I just think for me, the earth it's a last stand. Are the people going to heal or not? And I'm going to give everything I got to help them see the interconnectedness here, that we are earth, that this is who we are, we're connected.
Yeah. I mean, if I agree, we're obviously the earth. I mean, we're made of the earth as much as an iPhone. And it's sort of like we are ourselves sort of setting the stage to take a leap, to grow in a way. All growth comes out of a kind of friction and challenge. And so we've set the stage for a really amazing opportunity, but it's such a big, challenging collective change when you have, 7 billion people on the planet. But it's like, if you can pull that off, it's one of the greatest heists of all time in the cosmos. It's like, we've done it. And it is a Herculean effort obviously it starts at the individual, right? There's no other way that change happens. We change from the inside out.
Yes.
Yet what COVID has shown us is how we can make collective changes so quickly if we have the motivation and choose to.
Yeah. Look how fast we went into hyper, mode around all this. Mm-hmm. And also, we don't need everybody to wake up. You just need a percentage.
Yeah. I was just saying that the other day.
7 billion, I'd be like, give up. But if there's a percentage can switch the whole, because we are all cells living in the mind of this like great being. We're all moving together. Just a certain amount of really healthy cells turn the tide.
Yeah. I was just saying that. It's like yeast and bread. It's a small additive to make the loaf rise.
Look at, and that's nature, right? That's chemistry. That's showing us something right there, and so the only danger, I think, in this time is that the plants are vulnerable to the destruction, so for me, I'm thinking of where we can begin to, I really want to move to Costa Rica and start planting thousands of vines in every corner of, land that we want to purchase. And so, because that might be, a danger, not so much with other things, but with ayahuasca.
Right. Tell me, inside the Buddhist community, is there pushback? Are there people who feel like this is cheating, or that's not our tradition, or there's dangers or ignorance perhaps, or what do you find?
Oh, yeah. In the beginning, I definitely became controversial. I think I still am very controversial in the Buddhist community. They don't tell me as much anymore. As a younger teacher, they knew that I would go to Peru in my community and say, Spirit Rock and the Western Vipassana. They knew I was going to Peru, and they were fine with my own healing work. It was when I started talking about it.
And the merging. I mean, not just taking people to Peru, but
retreats. Yeah, that became and I just really listened deeply to the elders, and I understand that this is controversial. Oh, I get it. It is in a way, for sure. And I just honor that. I don't need to solve the controversy. I just hold it.
What is the controversy, though? I mean, what's the thing that issue?
The heart of it is around, in the Buddhist world, we take these 5 precepts. And the precepts are non-killing, non-harming, non-stealing, mindfully speaking. The 5th is around intoxicants. And these are basically when, we take refuge, we chant them, we live them. We all practice the precepts. This is kind of when you're on the Buddhist path, you do 5 precepts. Some people do 8, And then obviously monastics take another 200 vows of how they live. But the precepts are the beginning of that. It's a
5 to
list.
200. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
if you're
Why
a
not?
monastic. Yeah, and then you're in robes. So it's all about, living like that. So the issue has been about this fifth precept and the interpretation of, is this plant medicine an intoxicant, or is it something that wakes you up? So this debate will probably never end. And I understand that the pure lineage holders are going to be like, it's awful. The innovators are like, no, this could actually help. So there's a wide range of views. There's some teachers that feel that this is really helping the world and could be helpful. And there's those that are like, this is not what the Buddha taught. And I really honor both of them. I just bow to all of it. I just say, thank you. You're right. This is a lot to think about, and I will keep thinking about it. And I do, but yet I continue my work because I see the value. I just see the healing. I see the miracles. I mean, it's just so profound, the shifts in people and the letting go and the healing of their trauma. And I want to do that. I want to help. I want to help helpers too. I want to many more teachers. We don't accept everyone on our retreat. It's a specialized niche hotel. It's not a mass market. So we screen everybody. We have calls with everybody. And not everyone is ready for it. So our clients, our guests, I say guests, a lot of them are writers, healers, teachers, So I think that is more of the crowd that we're trying to uplift. So whatever is blocking those creative energies from fully expressing in this world, being a leader, being a bodhisattva. But yeah.
What have you found makes someone not ready or not a good fit?
No background in meditation, no interest in Dharma. That's probably one. And no understanding of, they would be ready for a retreat, just not ours. I would just refer them more to like a beginner retreat and I would encourage them to sit a 10-day course or meditation retreat first. You got to come in with some love and devotion and some understanding of what we're doing. Otherwise, we just go too fast. You're just lost in the content. We're moving like quicker.
Not enough love. Yeah.
Yeah. They just wouldn't keep up with it. And it wouldn't be the fit with the rest of the community who is, part of also what we do with our retreats is we're restoring a sense of what real community and Sangha is. That's also a big trauma for people, right? If you've had incidences and you feel, we're coming together and reweaving a sense of like real Sangha here.
Yeah. Yeah. And have you, it's true that I've often said when someone asks me about advice about going into a plant medicine space, the one thing, like if you do anything, go in with some breathing practice, meditation practice. It's the number one thing that I think will help the most. And there are other things you could obviously do, but not to let that one slide because it's the anchor, really.
Yeah.
And so and it doesn't have to be complicated, but it's just having a familiarity with focusing even just on your breath. So it's like a muscle that when you're in that space, it's not like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? It's like, this is the thing I've done many times. I can fall into that. I can keep going back to it every time I fall out of it, essentially.
Yeah. And not everybody, and we're learning about awareness. I mean, I thought I knew a lot about the Dharma, but after I started working with the plants seriously, I saw all of it was intellectual. I didn't know it in my bones.
Wow.
I mean, I didn't. And that's what I find with a lot of people. It's just knowledge until it's in your body, until it's in your cells. So you're seeing these truths on another level. And that's kind of why I also like to work with the plants, is that we can take an idea and then of letting go and impermanence, take it into ceremony. And we're like, wow, okay, we're letting go here on a whole nother level. And I think that's what's needed now. It needs to go into the body level. There's a lot of communities that are doing great work, but it still feels like we're not always rooted in the heart. Some of these communities I used to go to are very cold Buddhist communities. I'd walk in and feel chilly. Like, is this practice working on you guys? This is like, and I would feel that. And I would think, well, these are the same people showing up saying it's not working on me anymore, but I don't know what else to do.
What, besides yoga, what else can we do to be able to hear our body?
Do retreats in nature.
So just being in nature, like really just kind of putting yourself out there and letting it do its work.
Yeah, getting a tent, sitting on the ground, vision quest. That'll get you in your body. That'll get you listening. It's also like listening and attuning to it. We have to stop and listen and attune. And also a lot of energy practices, Qigong, Tai Chi, and the strong desire to want to live in our body and to start to ask the body for its wisdom. To have a relationship with the body, not as like a scientist would. It's not a machine. It's alive. And that concept of it's a machine, right? I put this in, I get that, right? I'm going to work this and I'm going to, we have a very mechanical view in our culture. It's not like the body is alive. It has spirit. It has intelligence. We don't see that. We look at it as a machine. I put this in, I better get that out. And if I don't, we're very like, it's a very different way of living when you're in relationship with your body as an intelligent source of the tree of life that has DNA woven and wisdom to share. There's all kinds of new studies about the gut having a brain, the heart having a brain. There's a higher consciousness than our so-called mind, and we're learning about what these brains can do. To me, it was funny that they made these discoveries and published it. And it was like, yes, this is what we've been learning all along. The body is, that's why the Buddha stressed the first foundation of mindfulness. You root down in the body and the wisdom happens. The insights become inevitable.
I feel like the body too speaks to us through pain because a lot of us, we think pain's always an acute trauma. I hit my arm and it hurts, that kind of thing. But I had an experience with pain where I was experiencing pain that I was convinced was just that. I was feeling a pain because something must be hurt and I needed to figure out what it was. And the first doctor I went to said, I believe this is stress and it's causing the pain. And I didn't believe him.
Right.
And so I went to many, many other doctors and they all kept ruling things out essentially. Well, it's not what I do, And I eventually was introduced to a book by Dr. Sarno, this guy. It's called Healing Back Pain Now. That's all about the mind and pain. And how certain kinds of pain he found are very often essentially psychological. Often lots of kinds of back pain, sciatica, all sorts of kinds of pain, migraines. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And even when you thought like, well, I bent over, I heard the sound in my back, I quote, hurt my back, therefore there it is, and now I have to get the disc surgery. And even then, he's like, even then. And his medicine was always to sort of like, you have to tell your body that, and you have to sort of just start by believing and tell your body, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm okay. And the thing that I'm worried about, you have to try to figure out what it is. It's okay. I'm looking at that. I'm going to deal with it. And it's being taken care of. I'm okay. And then you need to go back to normal use of your body, even if you think that's impossible. You have to believe in a way. And it's a way of your body communicating to you, right? The pain itself arising is your body saying, his method is that it's sort of like a distraction in a way because it's sort of displaced energy because you're not looking at this thing, you're looking at something too much and you're worried about it on an unconscious level. So these tender parts of our mind, transfer into our body. Our mind is part of our body.
Yeah.
And I think in medicine ceremonies, this can be amplified in such a way where it's hard to describe, but it's super amplified.
It's very amplified, and multiple pieces of pain can be dissolving at different moments, causing a lot of mental torment as they're going. The body's unraveling itself. And I definitely have always seen that pain, or we just in our culture, it's part of what we do is we medicate right? So we never listen. We never get the result we want because we're not working with the body. We're just stopping symptoms, often making the body more ill by taking an outside prescription a lot of times, right? We just want to stop sensation. We just want to be numb. And it's just kind of like how it is. And it's sad because we're missing so much because, our suffering is a doorway. When the body is in pain, something in our lives is not working. We could override it, but I listen to my body so much when I'm making, I'm talking to people or I'm doing things with people or I'm about to sign something or I'm like, I'll listen to my body. If my gut starts to get a pain in it, I just tell everyone I have to pause. My body is like, but when I'm just like, yeah, and my body's like, I'm like, oh, this is a collaboration I need to do. But when even a good deal that sounds good, I have turned away late in negotiations on certain things that I kept being like, but I'm suffering. And I just told my body is not wanting to go this direction.
It's hard to tell. You ever wonder if it's like fear because it's the newness or it's like, can I do this kind of thing?
Yeah, I have. And I've sat with it. That's why I take my time with it.
Yeah.
Right? Is this just a mountain I'm scared to climb or is this just not the right energy? And pretty soon I'll look and I'll find that it's like we're not aligned, right? There's some deep misalignment energetically from what's being said and what's actually, I'll just pause. So, but my body, I often, I just take tremendous like guidance from it and listening, and it's attuning all the time. That's growing my ability to listen to my heart, and the heart is in the body. It's not in the mind. So if I want to feel my heart, I have to be rooted in the body. You can't think your way to love. It's a sensation, that's emanating. It's a felt sense. And you can't get there through here. It's like you have to actually live in there. Like Jack Kornfield's, he's an extremely embodied person. And you can feel within 5 minutes listening to one of his Dharma talks, his heart energy just starts to go out like this. It just beams out. It's just from years of just like, yeah, he's very rooted in that and very rooted in the heart. So this is actually, a health issue. Like us not living in our body, we don't live that long. We can hurt ourselves.
So it seems like an element of this for sure is an element of choice. Like you need to choose first. It's sort of like an intention to be in your body. I mean, I don't know. The doorway into it is, I think for some people who want this, they might find it to be a bit mysterious. They're like, well, I want to listen to my body. How do I do it?
Yeah, and that's the first thing. I think that's the great shift right there. I want to listen. Actually, my body may know something. The people who don't, some people have no regard. They don't live in their body. They really get ill. They're not aware of what they're putting in, the toxins around. We get this vehicle and we have to manage it as a part of our spirit. It's connected. The mind manifested it, but it's not just empty, phenomenon. There's a force in it, and there's an aliveness to it that we can engage in. And I'm writing my new book about all of this, the energy body and how I see things with the medicine and how we've helped people heal deep things in their body. And right now, many people are healing deep, old stuff is coming out through the body right now. People are we got Pandora's box open right now. And
yeah, well, the virus too obviously affects the body, and so this whole thing is a body thing, really, and it's an invisible body thing, and it's the doorway into all these other hidden aspects of our world and our lives that need attention, or that were left undone, or there are weak spots in our world, and it's revealed essentially by a potential sickness in the body.
And we all thought we prepared for a war of some kind to happen where we would see this kind of global thing, right? We had thought it would, but the fact that it's a flu and it affects the lungs, a virus like this, it's forcing everyone to look at how they view their body, what they're putting in their body. Hopefully some won't, they'll ignore it. And that's just part of what will happen. But a lot of people are paying attention. And this is what could be a positive outcome is this refocus on health and wellness, not capitalism, but human values, human life. That could be something that could shift out of this.
I hope so. I do feel like we're still in process with it, and it probably is going to be a connected process to many processes. I certainly don't understand, what it all is yet, but I feel it. I feel that change and that opportunity too inside the experience.
Yeah, because when you get people connected to their body more, you get people waking up.
That's interesting.
Even a healthy lifestyle, even a cleanse could have a huge shift on someone's mind if they've never done that before. Even just changing your food for a couple of months has a shift on the whole mind-body process. So we can't underestimate how powerful just shifting a little bit more to paying attention to your body as a living system shifts into the earth body mind pretty soon. They're not far jumps here. We slowly evolve into being like, oh, right. And so we're at the beginning, it feels like. On some days I think, man, we're just begun this process.
And yet there's no end and there's no middle, and it's all a blossoming, yes.
and how odd and amazing. And here we are, May 21st, 2020, recording this. Just archive it. We'll put a time capsule stamp on this conversation. And I know it's the great mystery is unfolding right before our eyes. We really didn't think we would live through this, see something like this.
Yeah, it is the gift to see the great show right in front of it and be in the middle of it. So,
and responding with, dialogues and trying to be helpful and share what we know. And yeah,
it's really what this show is about, is having those dialogues, and for me to interface with different people with different perspectives and to sort of see how everyone's walking their walk in their own way through this process. Before the pandemic, it was the same thing of that we're still walking through very challenging times and times of deep transition and that take a lot of vision, and people making choices to say, I'm going to create a story that's maybe different than the dominant story because I feel in my heart that it's being asked of me right now. And that is needed, essentially. And everyone has to decide in their own way what that manifestation is.
Yeah, maybe out of this, the new collective dream will be rewoven. What does it mean to even have an American dream? What is that?
It's changing for sure. Yeah, it has been for a while.
It's been under, there's a part of the country that's not interested in the old version, the narrative of it. And how do we, and uniting, there's going to have to be a moment of unite here.
So are your retreats on hold, or I noticed you had some scheduled for later in the year, but where is that at right now?
I think those later retreats I do have are optimistic. I'm leaving them on because they were full. And Peru, like all countries, I don't know when they're going to be open for international travelers.
And they don't know either. Yeah.
They don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody really knows. We're all just kind of thinking here, there, it's unlikely we'll go to Peru this year.
Well, if there's one thing we know, it's that nobody knows. And so we can, not that we ever have.
Uncertainty. Yeah, we pretended we knew before, and we could plan years out, and it would all unfold directly how we had organized it in our calendar. But now,
like you said, you had a hell of a 2020.
Oh man, it was the greatest year ever. So now here we are in this greatest year ever. Apparently, this is what and it's just. And some days I'm okay with that, and some days I'm sad, by it. But more and more, I'm accepting.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Well, Spring, thank you so much for taking some time with us and letting us dive a little bit into your world. And I hope people can check it out if they want to take that journey with you when they can. Check out your books. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was really fun to chat.
Thank you, Spring, for giving us your time. It's really amazing merging of modalities and interests there. check out her work. This music you're hearing in the background is Electronic Sea from the album Ram Dass, and it features Stick, better known as Stick from Dead Prez. It was awesome getting to work with him and get to know him. He's an amazing guy too, makes some great music, and he's also got a great message, which he shares readily on Instagram, among other places, so check him out. All right, guys. Keep it up. Keep doing your thing. More than anything, just keep breathing. Stay present. It's what you need to do more than anything, so you can make good decisions and really hear. Keep walking your walk. Don't take any shit till next week. Do your thing. Do it with grace.
Is a sickness that is coming from the identification with separateness, the individual.
Modern technology, double-edged sword. It's everywhere at once, impossible to avoid. The whole world connected through the click of a button. We nuke our own foods in the microwave ovens cause it's quick and convenient. We know the government taking peeks at our email, yet we still need it. Fine print, we don't read it. Take a bite out the apple like Eve didn't eat. But where is it leading?
It's all one-to-one, but put down your smoking gun. It's only what we see. How you choose is what will be.
Become identified with your individuality. Then your world is populated by them. Them is distant from you.
At the end of the day, all roads lead home. Dorothy meets the Wiz. It is what it is. Perception is everything. Waking up in the dream, we project what we think, but it's not what it seems. Every cell, every atom is connected like a team. We are one in this ocean of life with many streams. Be empowered by the tool, but don't let it use you. Can't Google self-knowledge. Be your own guru.
On the other hand, you can identify with all of it. The universe, or the one is God.
It's all one-to-one, put down your smoking gun. It's only what we see. How you choose is what will be. It's all from the earth, reflections that we birth. Precious metal, salt and sea. It's all one, it's you and me.
The electronics are us and not them. See yourself as part of a culture, as part of nature, as part of the universe, as part of God.
Yes, sir. Indeed.
Our consciousness is one. Your consciousness and my consciousness, it's one.